Hi guys, so last week you were working with the text earthquakes, and we've been talking about natural disasters. And so today's text is from the same earthquake story that you did last week, but we're going to focus in on one section of it. So I'm specifically going to be looking at pages 16 and 17 in the earthquake text that we looked at last week. And then this one's going to focus on our heading of tsunami terror. Okay, and so that's what this one is going to be focusing on. And so today we're going to read and work through this, and then you need to work on pages 16 through 17 of your workbook, your Wonders workbook pages. So let's look at this page. Let's look at this picture first of all. Remember, don't look over the photographs that you are given in a story. Use them to help with your understanding of what you've read. Okay, authors put, they get illustrators to put pictures and things in their text to help you with your comprehension so you know what you're reading about. Okay, and so this is a picture, and if we look at the picture, we discussed it last week. Obviously boats and ships belong out on the ocean. They belong on the water. Well, they have been washed ashore up on land where they don't belong, and they've just been piled up on each other here. Well, there was a reason why. And the caption, remember the captions can tell you what's going on in a picture, is because the disaster zone in Tsunami, Japan, 2011, 100 days after the massive earthquake and tsunami. And so remember when we read this last week, we talked about a tsunami, which is, tell me again, let me stop it and see if you can tell me what a tsunami is. Good. It's the gigantic wave that is formed when an earthquake happens out in the ocean, okay? And it creates this huge tidal wave, and that tidal wave goes speeding up on shore, and it causes a lot of damage because it's a tremendous amount of water. And so the boats that were out on the ocean got washed up on land. All right, so let's read this. When an earthquake occurs under the ocean, it often moves a substantial amount of water above it. This creates a fast-moving wave called a tsunami. Out at sea, the wave may be only a few feet high. As it reaches shore, however, the wave can tower into a monster. It can hurl water for miles inland. Tsunamis can travel thousands of miles. In 1960, Earth's largest recorded earthquake struck the country of Chile. It produced tsunami waves up to 82 feet or 25 meters high along the coast. And if you wanted to, guys, if you wanted to get out and do an experiment to see how tall that was, you can get you a tape measure, and of course your tape measure is probably not going to measure 82 feet. It might, I don't know how big you've got, but you can stretch out and see if you can find where you can measure 82 feet long and see just how tall that wave would be. The tsunami also raced across the Pacific Ocean at a speed of more than 150 miles per hour. It struck the shorelines of Hawaii, Japan, Alaska, and other places. Hundreds of people drowned. The 2011 Japan earthquake produced tsunami waves more than 30 feet, 10 meters high. The 2004 Indian Ocean earthquake in southern Asia produced 50-foot, 15-meter tsunamis. These tsunamis engulfed entire cities and shorelines. The waves swept away buildings, cars, and people. Japan, southern Asia, and Chile had experienced many powerful earthquakes and tsunamis before. Why were so many people unprepared? And so remember, when you're reading nonfiction or informational text, you have your big title on the front of your story, which was earthquakes. The smaller titles are called headings. So everything under this heading was talking about the terror that was caused from a tsunami. Okay, and we can learn a lot of information about the tsunami. Okay, we know that tsunamis are caused when an earthquake occurs under the ocean. It moves substantial. What does the word substantial mean? Yeah, it moves a tremendous amount of water, a large amount of water. And tsunami is this fast-moving wave. Okay, when that earthquake creates that wave out in the ocean, they can travel for thousands of miles. This specific tsunami, when the earthquake hit in 1960, it had waves up to 82 feet high. It was racing more than 150 miles per hour. That's fast. I mean, the maximum speed we get to travel in a car is 70 on the interstate. So that's over double how fast that would be traveling. So this tsunami wave would absolutely outrun you in a car. Okay. Whoops. Let me get back to my pointer here. There we go. All right. And we know too that that tsunamis are going to engulf, they're going to swallow up entire cities and shorelines. They sweep away buildings, cars, and people. You don't want to be when there's a tsunami. You want to, try to get away from it as quickly as you can. And you remember it tells us in the story that, if you had a warning to run uphill, if you were somewhere where you could run uphill, you would want to go run uphill. Maybe you don't want to live in an area that's on a coast. That just kind of depends on where these people choose to live. Okay. And so what you're going to do today in your workbook, you've got to do pages 16 and 17. And so here, you can go back and reread this video. You can pause it, when you need to stop and find facts and things throughout the video to fill in your bubble map here. It says, how do you know that tsunami terror is a good heading for this section? How do we know that when you read, that when we read this here, how do we know that this is a good heading? Why did the author choose to put that as a heading? Okay, so how does the information that we read under here match tsunami terror, and why is that a good heading for this text? And so when you look at your pages, I'm sorry guys, there we go. You're going to try to find words and phrases and things in that text in this video to fill in your bubble map to help you with knowing why we would name it tsunami terror. Okay, and then in a good sentence down here, you're going to explain and say tsunami terror is a good heading because why? Why was that a good heading? What information did you read under there? Okay. And then of course on page 17, you're going to continue your work with earthquakes and tsunami terror. And I have also posted an earthquake video from last week back in this week's YouTube playlist as well, so that you will have it again this week. And how does the author use text features to help you understand how earthquakes affect people? So when you're doing this one, if you look over here on the side of your pages, it can give you hints and things along the way. And it says here, use these sentence starters to organize your text evidence. So when you come over here to write, use some of these to help you with your writing. Text features, remember, are things such as, let me get a smaller one. Text features are going to be photographs, captions, if there's any maps, diagrams, if there's any illustrations or anything in your text, things that are included in the text that can help you with your understanding of the story. Okay, and so you can use some of these. You could write a sentence that says the author uses photographs with captions to show what, just like the picture we discussed. You might say the author also helps me understand earthquakes better by, maybe it tells you, it helps you because it organizes the story in different headings, so you know which what information is going to be under which heading. Maybe it gives you specific facts. When it was talking about how they measure earthquakes, it only gave you specific facts under that heading to help you as you were trying to learn and understand how they measure earthquakes. And so you're going to, when it says text features, that's what it's wanting to know about. How do the photographs, the captions, the maps, the diagrams, how do they help you understand how these earthquakes affect people? Okay, so continue your work on tsunami terror, your work on using your text features for your earthquakes, and that should take care of your work for your reading today.